Hello everyone, Hikiko here. I'm coming to you with some rather unfortunate news that just dropped. Microsoft is now suspending accounts that are using retail mode emulators. There have been reports that users are now receiving 15-day suspensions for using emulators in retail mode on their Xbox. Now, retail mode is the default mode of the Xbox. When you turn it on, you're in retail mode. It is separate from dev mode, which some other users are using emulators on, and that seems to be okay for now. We really don't know the rationale behind Microsoft's motivation here to suspend these accounts, but even worse, we've also found out the retail devs, the people who are putting all these emulators on the Microsoft Store where users can then download those emulators, well, they're receiving full-on console bans. Now, that is if you are a developer and you're uploading these emulators to be downloaded on retail mode, they're receiving full-on console bans. Essentially, what had happened was, I want to say about 5 months ago, Microsoft started pulling all retail mode emulators. And that came hot off the heels of the Xenia Xbox 360 emulator being uploaded to the Microsoft Store and users being able to download 360 emulators and play 360 games that aren't officially supported on their Xbox Series X. And I was super excited about it. In fact, I had been using emulators on my Xbox Series X for about 3 years before it suddenly became a problem. I would say about 2 weeks ago, on the Xbox Emulation Hub Discord, there was an announcement that retail mode was coming back. Well, it did come back, but many users were a bit upset because it was behind a Patreon. Essentially, the developers of retail mode emulators were paying out of their own pocket to create developer accounts and host. Every time these emulators would come down from retail mode, they would have to then rehost them and pay to keep fighting Microsoft, and it was like a constant game of whack-a-mole. But they were trying new methods to keep the retail emulators up there as long as possible. Well, a lot of people reported on retail mode coming back all at once, so tons of users came into that Patreon and started asking all these questions, and some people started reporting these dev accounts that were uploading to retail mode here, and they were just swiftly being taken down. I remember I've downloaded retail emulators about 3 times, and on the 3rd time, I just said, enough is enough. I'm taking my Xbox offline, and then Microsoft can't take away my emulators. My Xbox has the, I guess, last remaining retail emulators. I've kept it offline, so I still currently have them. I can still use them and play them, but I can't connect to Xbox Live, so it's a double-edged sword there. So, unfortunately, after many numerous attempts to keep the retail scene alive, it seems like Microsoft has fired the warning shot to users who have connected their Xboxes to Xbox Live and they have these retail mode applications, that they're going to be getting these 15-day suspensions. I don't know what to make of this. I'm really shocked and disappointed that Microsoft would go this far to care, especially after taking such a positive preservation stance that Phil Spencer came out in support of preserving old retro games.
When I think about like old ROMs and MAME and these things of like where these old games are going to go as the hardware that's capable of running these or running those games or kind of interpreters and emulation systems, I really wish as an industry we'd come together to help preserve the history of what gaming is about so we don't lose the ability to go back.
A lot of these games that you can play with the emulators aren't available on the Microsoft Store or anywhere else to play. You know, it's not like you can download the ROMs from the Microsoft Store. You're just downloading the emulator itself. Fortunately, for those of you who are still interested on running emulators on your console, there is dev mode, but that also has a price to entry, and there's it's not as user-friendly, I'll just say. We'll keep that short. It's sad because retail mode was awesome. You could not only play any emulator that you had on there, but you could also do quick resume between Xbox Series X and Xbox 360 games you already had officially downloaded, stuff you already bought. I used it almost every single week that I've had an Xbox. In fact, there would be lulls in the times when Microsoft would put out games, and I'd be like, well, I'll just play an old game and fire up an emulator. And as somebody who makes video game reviews on retro games, it was super convenient to just have all my ROMs and emulators and all my Xbox consoles under one hood. I really don't understand why Microsoft's doing stuff like this in a day and age whenever you have stuff like the Steam Deck, which is capable of running any emulator you want. You got a PC, little sticks, little Android sticks that you can just buy off of Amazon, loaded to the brim with emulators and ROMs themselves. I hesitated on making a video on this at first because there was no guarantees from the developers of retail mode that they could keep these emulators up, that they wouldn't be taken down, that there weren't other consequences to be foreseen. So I'm kind of glad I held off on saying, hey everyone, retail mode's back, because I would feel really bad if everyone just rushed into that Patreon, paid $2, started downloading all this stuff, and then getting their account banned or something worse. So just glad I didn't do that. Anyway, I also want to mention that there was a rumor going around, and it's not really a rumor, it was proven false, objectively false, that Nintendo might have had something to do with this, that they were threatening a lawsuit with Microsoft, and that's why Microsoft has then pulled all of their emulators, pulled all of retail emulators off. That was unfounded. The source of the rumor happened to be somebody who infiltrated the Xbox emulation hub. They became some definitive Azure developer source, and then many news publications used them as a first-hand source, saying that they had insider info to Microsoft and that they had a message from one of the people taking down the emulators, that it was all because of Nintendo. Well, it turns out this person was actually a felon. And this felon had crimes against children, which I will not name. They're a horrible human being, but they were able to BS their way to all these news publications, and then it was quickly swept under the rug. Like, the rumor got out, people started believing it was because of Nintendo, and it actually came from a child predator that had nothing to do with Microsoft, nothing to do with Azure. Really terrible stuff. Anyways, they disappeared, but that rumor remained. I just wanted to clear that up. I think I actually have the real reason why all these ROMs and emulators have been taken off of retail mode here. It's because Microsoft is now introducing their own form of retro game streaming. That's right. Not even locally downloaded emulators or ROMs. No, you pay for a subscription pass so you can play just a very limited library of games. And then that announcement happened just around the same time they took down retail mode emulators again. So it seems like that had been in the works in the background for a while, and that seems to be the more rational explanation for why they're moving very quickly to take down emulators on retail mode. Anyway, I've been Hikiko. I'll see you all next time.